Hi, I'm going to show you how to make this cute little Chinese boy cupcake. This is for the Chinese and Vietnamese New Year festivities that are happening this particular weekend. Here I am just icing my cake. You've seen me do this several times now. If you want to see a more detailed video, there is one on my channel at Macau. I'm basically doing this to get a smooth surface just before I decorate my cupcake. It's not totally flat, it's just semi-domed. Next, I'll be getting some skin-coloured fondant. Now, fondant's just an icing that you can get from your local supermarket in the cake decorating section, or your specialty cake decorator supply shops that you can probably find online if you don't have a local one near you. Okay, I'm using a circle cutter to cut out my skin-coloured fondant. I've created this colour by just using a slight touch of brown food dye with the white fondant. Now I'm just placing the circle cutout of the fondant onto the cupcake just to give it a smooth surface, and I'm rolling out some pre-coloured red fondant. Well, this is pre-bought fondant that has already been coloured red, because red's a really difficult colour to mix. You probably just keep getting a very light red when you try to mix it yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to use the same circle cutter that I used with the skin coloured fondant, and I've cut out a circle, and I'm just cutting a section off. Basically this will be part of the little boy's hat. Now I'm using some edible glue that I also have a tutorial on my channel at Macau. If you want to go there, I'll show you how to make that out of tylose powder and some water. Okay, so I've glued that on. I'm using a little bit more red fondant, and I'm just going to make some little details for part of his hat. I don't know exactly what it's called, but yeah, it's just little bits that stick out of the top of the little boy's hat. I'm using my little palette knife to do all the cuts so I can have smooth cuts. Now I'm cutting out two similar pieces, and I'm just angling part of it to create not quite a square, rectangle shape, just slightly angled like that. Okay, now I'm gonna attach it to the cupcake, just bending over the edges a little bit there, the smaller edge, and with my edible glue, I'm just sticking it on. Okay, now if you find your fondant sticky to work with, you can dust your surface with some cornflour, and that would hopefully dry up whatever stickiness that you've got with your fondant. Your hands are particularly hot, yeah, dust your hands as well with fondant, because the heat in your hand reacts with the fondant and makes it much more softer. Okay, so I'm using a little bit more of the skin coloured fondant. I've just rolled it up into a tiny little ball and just elongated a little bit, and now I'm using one of my cake decorating tools to just put an indent into the cupcake. You don't necessarily need to have these tools to do this bit, but because I had the tools there, I just used it. Now I don't know what the name of this particular tool I'm using is called, but I'm just using it to create the knife. If you don't have this tool, I suppose you can just use kind of like a pointy knife to create the same shape, or you could try a toothpick as well. I haven't done it with a toothpick, but I'm just picturing it, and you probably can just get away with using a toothpick as well. You can use a toothpick to do the eye bits as well. Okay, I'm moving on to my black fondant. Black fondant I've bought pre-coloured. It's really hard to mix black fondant yourself because there's a lot of dye content in it, and you'll probably just end up getting a grey if you keep trying to mix black into a white fondant. So I like to buy my really deep colours already pre-coloured, like the reds and the blacks and the really, really deep greens. Okay, I'm cutting out a section of the black to create another detail to the little boy's hat, and my hand's actually picking up some of the dye colour, so it's looking like it's a little bit black. It's not actually dirty, it's just part of the food dye. Okay, so I'm going to attach that with a little bit more edible glue. If you don't have edible glue, you can just use water, or somebody just mentioned recently you can use syrup, anything that's kind of sticky that you can stick to it, that's obviously not toxic and edible. Okay, so I think I'm creating the eyes here. Yes, I'm on to creating, oh no, I'm creating his little mouth here. So I'm just going to create the black parts to his mouth. I'm cutting out something that looks like a triangle, and then I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit just to make it a little bit more curved. I'm going to cut off the little excess bits. Sorry, I'm just a bit out of range in that section. Okay, so now I've got something that looks a little bit like a semicircle, or not quite a semicircle, but part of his mouth. And I'm just going to attach that with my edible glue. Okay, now if you're liking my videos, yeah, let me know, throw me a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these tutorials. I guess it keeps me motivated to do more tutorials for you guys. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel at Mac and Norm, please do, and you'll be notified every time I upload a video. Okay, so I'm onto the eyes now. I'm just cutting out tiny little strips of black fondant. If you don't have black fondant for this part, you can use, I think they're called food gels. You can just squeeze them out in little lines to create the eye section or the mouth section, or even that top black section of the hat. But because I've got black fondant already on hand, that's what I use. Okay, so just using my tool again to fix the eyes onto the cupcake. Like I said, you can use a toothpick and I think you get the same result. Okay, so now I'm on to doing a tiny little tongue for this cheeky little Chinese boy. He's sticking his tongue out, so I'm creating a tiny little circle and then I'm indenting it with my little tool. And then I'm just going to attach it to his mouth. Okay, and now onto his little ears. Just some more skin coloured fondant. I've rolled it out into two little balls. Now I'm just going to attach it to his face where the ears are supposed to be. Okay, and then I'm going to use my tiny little tool again to put an indentation in each ear to make them look like little ears. And then he's almost done. Okay, here I'm using like a petal dust. It's kind of like a powdered food dye that you can just dust on to give him his cheeks a bit of rosiness. And I think just to finish him off, I'm going to add a little detail. It's called a cashew. The bottle says silver, but I'm actually using the gold coloured one. If you don't have this, you can just roll up some yellow coloured fondant into a little ball and just attach it. Okay, and that's it. That's the little boy finished. I hope you guys enjoy it and let me know what you guys think. Happy New Year to everybody.